What's up, fellow lords of gaming? Welcome back to the channel. We're jumping in today to talk about solo leveling Overdrive. So before we get into it, let's break down the difference between what Overdrive is versus what Arise is. I think the developers have done a really piss poor job of explaining the differences between these games, and especially with their marketing trailers, and players are really confused. They were really pissed off with the Arise community as well, thinking that the game was dying or that they were just used to create this current content version of the game. These are not the same games. Let's be clear about that. And Overdrive is not a port of the Arise playerscape. It's just not the same. I will say Overdrive is standing on the shoulders of Arise, and that can be a good or bad thing depending on how you look at it. My main difference that is take away from Arise and Overdrive is the gotcha element mechanics of what Arise presents. Where in Arise, you are forced on a weekly or weekly, monthly basis to purchase hunters or to purchase weapons for Sun Jin Woo. Those are acquired in a different manner in this game. Here, hunters are acquired through recruitment methods. So you go inside your hunter hub and you will basically have the option to negotiate with the various hunters that are available at the time to join your team. How you negotiate with them is also a very interesting mechanic. You can either use hunter coins that you will get from completing areas inside the game or just collecting them from pickups, or you can use quick hire, which is in hunter reports. One forces you into the success failure rate system of the game. The other one is just you picking up the hunter that of your choosing as you see fit when you're ready to pick them up and you have enough reports. I would suggest, from what I can see so far, your S tier type hunters, you're going to want to probably use the hunter reports, and some of your low tier, rare, and common type hunters, which only require one quick hire button or less tokens to basically do that with, but that's completely up to you. Outside of this, inside of Arise, you are forced into the gotcha elements of acquiring weapons and for hunters and Sun Jin Woo through gotcha type mechanics as well. Here inside of Overdrive, all of those items are crafted. Whether you are making a weapon for Sun Jin Woo or a weapon for your hunters, all of them are craftable. If they appeared inside of Arise, they are here inside of Overdrive, and all of them are craftable. So if you want to make an investment in daggers like Baruka's dagger, Kasaka's venom fang, or the Knight's killer, then you can make those investments and level up each of those weapons through their tiers. Those tiers have an effect on your ability points and things like that. It's just the same thing, but just done in a different way, and in my opinion, an improvement. If you want to play as a hunter and you want to level up the hunter's type skills, the same can be said for here, with a little bit of a caveat in that each of your weapon paths for your different hunters, whether they're invested in swords or daggers, is going to have a little bit of increased element to them. You can see here that in order to craft a dagger for either Hong Sung Yi, I hope I said these names right, or King Tai Shek, I have to start out with a base level dagger, and then I can start branching at some point into those specific characters so that way I can build their weapons. This is true for almost every hunter in the game. Completely up to you there. Now, in terms of the roster that is available at current inside the game, I will say it's pretty much similar to the roster that was available to us at the time when Arise began, with the exception of some few characters like Isil Rodrigo, Amai Murray, Alicia Blanche. Those characters were not available at launch for Arise, but they are available here. I assume because of their popularity inside of Arise, they're just adding the element here. I am positive that we're probably going to get new characters added as we go along. How that's going to appear, I'm not so sure. So for instance, at one point I obviously saw Hwang Dong-suk running around inside of the basement, said hello to him, so his character model's in game. I'm pretty sure the same could be said for how things were presented inside Arise, right? At some point we saw the character inside the lobby and we knew that was the next character that was coming to the game. Outside of that, how content is going to be funneled to the players, unfortunately Netmarble has not been forthcoming with that information, but we can expect that DLC is likely going to be here. What the purchase points on those will be, I don't know. The game releases tomorrow, and you're going to probably pay about $35 for the access to about 10 chapters of the game. We'll have to see what becomes DLC type content in the future. Now, what difference does this make to you? We have to address the core mechanics of the gameplay so that way you understand more of the gameplay differences. So let's look at the core loop of the gameplay. To start off with, we are familiar with the Arise type element where you participate in the main story quest, and you also participate inside of instance dungeons, encore missions, gates, and the like. You're doing the exact same thing here with encore missions, instance dungeons, gates, dungeon breaks, and story progression. The only difference is that you can play that content both solo and as a party. So people are going to be able to join as either their hunter type characters or Sun Jin Woos and contribute to that. No monetization on this whatsoever. It's going to be the content cadence of a live service like Arise. Is going to be frequent events, whereas Overdrive is a standalone type narrative and co-op package with future support that's to be determined depending on how they're going to do this. So for me, I prefer the DLC type package approach and content being released as is and having the ability to work through those content areas so that way we see how those are. As opposed to the gacha type mechanic where I feel like I have to open my wallet almost every month and spend somewhere between $50 to $100 to basically get one type character, which never really worked for me. But I played Arise. I did it. I was part of the Dolphin Club. We'll have to see what happens inside Arise. Most of the content that is available inside of Arise is through some type of gameplay element. All your costumes and things like that, that is available inside a game versus you having to pay individual pricing for those costume elements. So if you want your Sun Drippy Woo to completely be dripped out in different type of clothes, guess what? Instead of having to pay $15, $20, those items are basically unlocked through simple progression of the game, collections and achievements, and it's a pretty good deal overall. I can't complain about that at all for basically $35. So let's talk about some of these additional differences in terms of how you build out your character. With inside the game of Overdrive, we still maintain the stat points. At current, I am seeing that there's a difference in terms of Arise and Overdrive. In Arise, it simply feels like making the investment inside strength is the way to go. I don't think the same can be said inside of Overdrive simply because there's different ways to approach the game. You have, if you notice on screen here, the block, the evasion, and the parry type systems baked into some of the skill elements. And yes, it does come into play because if you were trying to evade the way you would inside of Arise, the timing windows and the timings are a little bit different and off, and you have to increase those timing windows to feel more effective at when you can do those. Otherwise, you're trying to get really, really good at the base level of the character and make those evasions, which for me, I'm not that damn good. For some other players, they might say skip out. I don't need to increase my evasion because I find it really easy. I don't need to increase my block and deflect, and that's up to you, but that's, for me, I'm not that great. So I think the stat points come in handy a little bit more in this game than they do inside of Arise. There is a skill tree inside of Overdrive that is not available to you inside of Arise. So you have 4 different branches where you have Assassin, Duelist, Elementalist, and Ruler, and each of those have 2 subpaths to them which you can make investments in to unlock specific skills. So here with the Ruler, for instance, you can see I've unlocked Full Moon Wheel. I've also unlocked a black hole, and then I've unlocked some of the items that basically make it so that way my character appears a little bit differently in the game. This is not a hard sewn set where investing in one path, stops me, prevents me from going down another path or any one of the individual classes. It's just a way for you to unlock things and feel like you understand the gameplay inside of there. Now, you also have to do the same thing with all your varying weapon types, making the investment in weapons that you prefer to play as and how those weapons will affect the game. You obviously need to make those investments. One of the things that becomes a big departure from the solo leveling Arise type experience is the introduction of the physique and Monarch Awakening systems. So the physique is just how you build out your character and make the core base elements outside of artifacts and weapons to how your character is going to perform inside of these areas. The Monarch Awakening gives Sun Jin Woo a whole new form with abilities that have to also be leveled up. So I'll show you what the Monarch Awakening looks like. Simply becomes like a secondary ultimate inside of the game, where you end up looking like this and you come out with a whole different sort of skill set for the character. You can see what those skills are going to look like inside your window here, and those skills will need to be improved overall. It adds a very nice system to the game because it basically acts as a second level of hitting the ultimate, and I like that. All your artifact systems are pretty much still in the game and still the same, with the exception that some of the stats for the items that you're familiar with inside of Arise have probably completely changed in terms of their skill effects. They're 2 set and 4 set effects, so you need to be aware of that and how you play the game. There are tiers and levels to the different artifacts that are available, and you can enhance each of these artifacts to bring out more better levels of what that gear is capable of providing you at the time of this video. So we have to take a look at that. Hunters also need to be improved by equipping their weapons, equipping artifacts, and increasing their skill system as you unlock them through the game. Outside of this, we do have the Army of Shadows. Currently we have Igris, Kaisel, Iron, Tank, and Tusk available. Obviously, you can see that we're going to probably get additional hunters in the future. How we level up these hunters is pretty much still the same. The difference that I am finding is that their presence on the battlefield is infinitely better. The ability for you to summon them is infinitely better. The amount of time that they stay on the battlefield affecting the battlefield is also better. They come along with some of their own Shadow Authority type skills as well. So you can see here for Igris, he increases the entire team's critical hit rate when he's in formation, and I'm likely to see some of the similarities between the other ones as well, but this is what you have for the Hunter formation at current. So we got weapons, we got artifacts. Let's talk about potions, because this is a new system that they've essentially added to the game, where you have to level up a potion and then you can add status type effects to your potion for when you use them. So you can see here with Kasaka's Venom's Fangs, I'm giving myself the ability to inflict poison damage to targets that I hit for a certain amount of time. So that's simply by adding that in and changing the formula, you have that ability to do. And you can see that there's a laundry list of these type of effects inside of the game. I think this adds a really interesting, unique kind of spin on when Sun Jin Woo was in the manhwa, using those potions and things that we didn't get inside of Arise, because he does make a lot of use of different artifacts, mechanics, and things like that he doesn't do inside of Arise, where we just relied on the shadows and things like that to make our way through the gameplay elements. One of the things they've added into this game as well is pets, because you will spin the block on areas where you have to collect resources, and in this case feel nice that you can get some of these chibi-ish type versions of your favorite characters and go about your business of using them to level gain resources inside those game modes. I will say with the caveat that from using the characters, they don't seem quite as good as they should be, where I don't feel the need to go and collect my own resources or my own items. That's my one chief complaint. Hopefully they make a fix for that at some point, because they don't seem to be moving with any sort of speed and urgency to grab those items while you're doing battle. And by the time you move to another area, they definitely haven't grabbed those items. You'll see that quite relevant inside the game. Outside of this, they did add some of the new features like Monarch Road, where you can unlock specific items like uniforms, hairstyles, materials, and things like that along the way. You'll collect these gate tokens from running different type of missions, specifically gate missions, and it feels really good to engage in that type of gameplay loop. We are familiar with the challenges and achievement tabs, where we can unlock specific items along the way. You can see here chapter 10 is where we drop off at the current moment. Maybe on release day there's going to be more chapters, although I doubt that, and we'll have to see how frequent the content release drip is, and whether or not the DLC is going to be affordably priced, or it's going to be something that turns players off completely from this experience, because they're like, well, Why am I making this much investment for just these few chapters and so forth? We'll have to see. At currently, I think, like I said, I think the game is in a good space, in a good state for where it currently is, and we'll have to see how they, you know, go on. They need to do a better job at communicating with the players, so that way we can see exactly how we like to do. Now, like I said, all of this being said comes down to you and your wallet and what you prefer. I prefer a game where I don't have to spend the wheel on my wallet every month to engage in content and engage in what is the power creep system, and I'd rather have that stuff baked in. In this regard, you can basically look at the game as somewhat as a Genshin solo, you know, Genshin Impact minus, where we don't have the gacha elements, and I think I prefer that in my day-to-day gameplay. I got tired of the power creep of new hunters, new weapons for Sun Jin-woo, and having to pay to basically get those items or spend enormous amounts of time engaged with the content to even try to get those weapons or make the choice between hunter and weapon to see how I wanted to play. So what are your opinions? The game releases tomorrow, November 24th. You make your opinion with your wallet and how you choose to play and expand with the Solo Leveling Arise IP. For me, I'm going to probably be playing some Solo Leveling Arise and contributing to their wallet in that way, and we'll see ultimately where this pans out. But beware, like I said, Arise is going nowhere. They're still going to be making content for those, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to share some similarities in what the content releases were, and you can probably expect that we're going to see dungeons and things like that with, you know, Cerberus and weapons of workshops of the brilliant light and things like that coming to this game. And it might be more fun to engage in that content inside of an Overdrive and being able to co-op play that instead of just playing the way that you currently engage with that content. But we'll have to see where that goes overall. I'm pretty excited about the way the game is. It's not 100% polished. It's not 100% perfect, but some of the other improvement elements I'll talk about in future videos, so that way you can see the breakdown on those. But I'm having a lot of fun with what the game is presenting to me at the moment. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and hope this informs your buy. Until next time, guys. Peace.